did you have any? You got any WWE news?
Yeah, I've got a story here that I put out on my Patreon.
All right, let's hear that because we're going long here today. So we talked a lot of sports. So
this is why it was better not to come on like yesterday and today because I was so tired. But I put here like this. Some of this is just spiel. I said the wrestling community are labeling Triple H as some sort of wrestling genius and savior just weeks into his tenure as he attempts to turn the main roster into Black and Gold 2.0. I'll move on with the story. So I've actually got a quote here. Triple H has seemingly conceded defeat when it comes to rebuilding some of his NXT favorites. The exact quote that was fed to me, and this is what Triple H said to bookers and producers. It would be naive to ignore the fact that some guys have been damaged here. As much as myself and lots of you guys, I imagine that whoever that is in the room, know that Shin and Roman should be a WrestleMania main event. This audience...
Wait, who in Roman?
Shin and Roman.
Who's Shin?
That's Shinsuke.
Oh, Shinsuke. Okay.
Yeah. So as much as myself and lots of you guys know that Shin and Roman should be a WrestleMania main event, this audience is never going to buy into that based on what they've seen over the past 4 or 5 years. So I've put, while this seems like to be a damning admission when it comes to rehabbing the career of Shinsuke Nakamura specifically, it'll be interesting to see or know who Triple H thinks it would be mission impossible to fix over the next few weeks. So yeah, that's an actual quote. Like someone said to me, like that they in the meeting they basically were talking about we can't fix everybody. Like the booking here has been really bad for some of these guys. But
just to speak real quick, a sidebar on Shinsuke, bro. Konnan, how long have we been doing the show? Like 6 years.
Yep.
So remember when Shinsuke was brought in? He was like a 5-star match guy, like the best worker from New Japan and stuff.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, it's like a can't miss guy. And like the thing is, it's like that's one thing the WWE does is they take away that when you like the WWE does not do strong style wrestling. And when you're like the king of strong style and you go to WWE, it's like they just erased your whole shtick, your whole marketing appeal. The king of strong style. Well, WWE doesn't do strong style because they're sports entertainment. They're like, but it's interesting that like Shinsuke still he's never been buried, and he's always kind of still remained a guy that's kind of like in the mix, but like you said, he's not a guy that we can see fighting Rome. Go ahead.
No, well, I didn't say it. The Triple H said it allegedly. Right. So there's more to this, and I don't know if Konnan has spoken to people.
Wait 1 second.
All right.
But I'll say this, Billy. I've talked to Vince about this, and I know what you're saying about like and I agree and disagree. Okay, because they're still doing like long matches. Like since Triple H has taken over, right? So it's just like, it kind of looks the same. However, the matches are very heavily overbooked. There's a lot of stuff going on, like in the match. There's a lot of spots injected into each match. Where it's like, 3 minutes in, Damian Priest will come out. 5 minutes later, Dominic's out there with Rhea Ripley. So like they're doing a lot of in-ring, but the in-ring matches that they're doing are not just like, one guy cuts out and cuts a promo. The other guy cuts out and cuts the promo, and the GM comes out and says, "Oh, I got a great idea. Why don't you guys have a match right now?" They're not kind of doing that type of booking. They've gone more towards, okay, we're going to tell a story 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe build it up. A lot of interviews, a lot of stuff, and then we're going to have the match.
What was the question you were going to ask me?
Well, I can absolutely tell you that the television is not being written on the day. Like it's 80% done by the time they get there, and
right.
A lot more organized. There's arcs and all these things, but whether they're the right arcs and whether the right people are getting pushed and whether the show is interesting or not remains up for debate. But one thing I can tell you for a fact, and I don't know if Konnan can verify it without naming names, I can't go too deep into it because I'm definitely going to reveal too much, and privately I'll have conversations with both you two guys about what I've been told. But one thing that is always going to be the case in pro wrestling, like no matter how these fans want to spin it and whatnot, when half the guys are being pushed, half the guys are not. So for half your roster to win, half your roster have to lose on the same show. Like you can't have like 4 guys winning and 1 guy losing. Like that's not how it works, right? So in every single situation, some of the dressing room are going to be unhappy. Some of the people were happy with what they were doing before, and some of the people are happy with what they're doing now. I can tell you that it's not the overriding harmonious place that's being fed to you by the dirt sheets and by.
Well, that's not even like, you don't even have to say that, because Hunter is bringing up his guys. And the people that have been on this roster for a while are looking around going like, either they like, are they going to replace me?
Let me tell you, Billy.
Some people I'm not happy with some of the stuff that's changed.
Okay, well, let me tell you something about the wrestlers, because we're former wrestlers and a lot of wrestlers listen to this show. And, I'm a booker that has to deal with all these wrestlers, paranoias and divas, and everybody wants to be pushed. So I would say to the people that are there, bro, if you're making good money, just stay in shape, be professional, and they're going to notice you. But if you're out there bitching all the time, the only thing you're going to do is get heat, because they're going to say, okay, here's Disco and here's Konnan. Okay, let's get Disco to do this. I'd like to do it with Konnan, but Konnan's going to bitch. So him, and we're not going to put him in the storyline. So if you think bitching, unless you're a top star and you got a lot of juice, don't bitch, bro. You're lucky to be in the business, a business that lets you travel, meet chicks, autographs, everything that wrestling brings. And, you can't push everybody at the same time. So you got to think, maybe they're not pushing me now, but they will in the future. You can't bitch every time you're not being used, because it's impossible to be pushed at the same time. And let me just say this.
Sorry.
And if you don't get pushed or they don't use you, you go to AEW or you bet on yourself and you go to Indies, and there's other places to work, but all is not lost. But go ahead.
But do you sort of co-sign on that? Like, do you agree that this kind of narrative that's being put out in the dirt sheets and in the community, which is, it's a much happier place, everybody's happy and everything's going so
I haven't read that, because I don't really read anything except maybe Meltzer. I don't really read other, so I don't know what their dressing room is like. I haven't really even asked. I know it was really bad. Like last year was real bad. I know AEW's bad right now. I know that for a fact. That's all I know, Billy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from my perspective, like there are some people who were happier with how it was, and there are some people obviously now that are happy with what it is.
I can't see how you'd be happier with Vince in charge and Hunter when Hunter gets it more than Vince does, and he's in all the, like we saw your boy Drew. He actually went out there and he said, wrestling match. That lets you know Vince ain't there, Right. You don't see as much silly. Look at Raw. There wasn't really any real silly except, even the Viking was more serious, the way they did that beat down, So I like Hunter's show. It was I liked Raw on Monday. It was 3 hours. And the only bad thing I didn't like, which I haven't liked in a while, is the women's stuff. Other than that, though, it was pretty good show to watch. It was easy to watch.
So while we see the Drew thing,
and thank God they took away that Jay Brown sword and the Kane pyro and all that. What a great promo with Owens! Oh my God, Owens laid into him.
That's the thing. So that promo is getting a lot of compliments and whatnot online and everything. Prior to that, obviously, you've thrown Cross in there to the title program. Now, Drew is a guy who is headlining a stadium show in Great Britain, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel that needed to be a clean build between Roman and Drew, so that there was a genuine belief to the attendees of that show, the people from Britain, that Drew could actually win on home soil. I believe that has been taken away now, as with Cross being automatically set up as the next challenger. I don't understand why you muddy the waters now. Like, if you want to bring Cross in afterwards. If he needs to beat Drew. Why do you put a distraction in there when you have a very, very clear storyline? This guy is coming home to win the belt, and Roman has to defend it in a different country in a stadium. That's all you need.
Because it's more interesting.
How is it interesting? It's
because you've added another variable to the equation.
What's the variable?
You've made it more interesting. Cross and Scarlett showed it's like all of a sudden, the guy's fighting for this first thing, and the guy that was facing.
You both make a good point.
And the storyline is like everybody knows this. To me, this is the storyline because we're all talking about this, and everybody knows this. Vince is done. Vince is the mainstream news. Vince has had to retire from WWE. Hunter's now in charge, and these are Hunter's guys. And Hunter is like injecting his guys into the mix very quickly, which to me makes it a more compelling story because he's doing it right away instead of like waiting to introduce and like stuff. It's like this to me is the story, and this to me is why people are more interested. Like the ratings have gone up a little bit. And people are more interested in the WWE right now because they know it's like Hunter's getting a chance to push his guys. And it's like, I think from a storyline standpoint, you're more inclined to tune in based on that than you were before. There's more interest is what I'm saying. Go ahead.
The stadium level main event storyline, it needs to be clean in terms of
they do 52 weeks of TV a year. Every single week they do TV. There's no reason to wait on something. There's no reason to let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. AEW does this, and it's like, well, one of the things they do wrong. They sit on things for too long. They had things that down the line that they're going to do. Bro, WWE, like with Hunter now in charge, like, no, we're just going to do these right now. And I like that better. That's the way Vince Russo, bro, it's like organically you see how things gestate and get created.
Let me just say real quick, Billy. You do have a point. No. You do have a point, but it is much more interesting with carrying as a variable.
Right. Go ahead. Keep going.
It can be, but I think it hurts Drew, and I also think it hurts this particular.
I don't think it hurts.
Well, you like Drew. You're biased.
You're putting your personal feelings.
I'm not biased,
right. But I don't think it hurts him. I don't think it hurts.
I don't think it does too.
And I also think it hurts the promotion for the pay-per-view where it says that it's the first pay-per-view that we've had for 30 years, right? So it needs.
What has it hurt?
Because it needs to be all about.
But you can say it's hurt. You say it's hurt. Is it hurting ticket sales? Is it hurting? Like, what's the evidence that it's hurt?
Listen, ticket sales. My ticket, and I'll send you the proof. I'll send you the proof in a minute because it's disgusting. My proof, my ticket, which costs £450, is now 200.
Drew, wait a minute. Drew can't hook you up.
They don't. They can't. They only get 2 tickets each for pay-per-view.
Wait a second though. But wasn't this a story previously when they put these tickets on sale months ago that they overpriced it originally, even before the storyline, even before they announced this match?
They're constantly slashing them to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous now. So
how many people does that place hold, Billy?
73,000.
And how many have they sold so far?
They've now, with these reductions and whatnot, they've now sold about 65,000.
Oh, gee, well that's
good. How is that being hurt?
I mean, seriously, if they were going to sell 40, they're going to sell 50 at higher prices, but then slash a price or selling 60.
And then you imagine other people are going to buy the last 2 days.
So I got some idiot sitting next to me who paid 1/3 of the price. Well, I'm the idiot who got it early. So who legitimately has a ticket for 1/3 of the price, and I will send you the proof when we're done. Like, this is what they've actually done.
We try
in order to sell. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have tried to overprice this. And most significantly, this main event on top, they needed to be a case of the British Bulldog won in the UK. Like, this guy can genuinely come and win. He can genuinely beat Roman. That's not the bill. The bill is now something else, and it's been made really, really muddy. Look. When CM Punk is trying to win a belt in Chicago, it needs to be about CM Punk. When somebody, if you were doing a pay-per-view in Mexico and you had Rey Mysterio challenge,
is Drew from Wales?
No,
where's Drew from?
Scotland. He's from Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I just feel you go to Australia and you build around the Australian. You go to Mexico, you build around the Mexican. Like you go to Chicago, you build around CM Punk. Like, it's a hometown thing. You keep it clean. Like, you don't.
Yeah, but Billy,
old cross back.
You can't really argue when you've sold 65,000 tickets.
Right.
That shuts everything down. That shuts everything down.
Nothing to do with Cross.
Yes, it does, because you're saying it's affecting the show, but it isn't, because people bought 65,000 tickets.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like I said, I know you think that this angle should have been centered around Roman and Drew.
Because I can think something's really good. I
Right.
can think something's really good, and if we're not selling tickets, guess what? It isn't good.
Right. And then, brother, I don't think it's hurt it at all. I just think there's more variables, more things that people, I don't know. I like it when the shows are busier.
Okay,
the shows are far more interesting when you have more people involved.
Like and Konnan too, because I know you both like Cross.
But this isn't whether we like Cross or not, because even if we like Cross and he isn't, and he's harming the main event, we'd say it.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So if you take yourself out of people, take yourself away from people that watch NXT and respect Cross. If you're not people who know about Cross and his background, right? If you're not people that didn't watch NXT, the last time you saw this guy, he was dressed up as Demolition. He was losing matches on television to Keith Lee, and he didn't have Scarlett with him. So for the 2 million people that watch SmackDown, 1.5.
No. The last time you saw Cross, he was on Raw and cut or SmackDown and cut a great 1 minute promo.
I made everybody forget all that.
Right, and then had his girl come out to a elaborate entrance with the thing where they beat down Drew and all that. So there's heat there already. They were able to make him like that because that's how special Cross is,
Well, then that's booking.
And Drew's special too. Drew's a stud. He's a star.
Bill, I think you're just being too critical of the scenario here. Like, as opposed to, it's like there's just more stuff going on in the show, which is what the interest that I have in the show now under Triple H is that he's bringing up his guys to see what he does with them, and I think everybody knows that. I think a lot of people know that. But the funniest thing was like when Raw. The first week after Hunter took over, and like they did 2.3 million people. Like,
there was Dexter Loomis. That's not a Vince guy. That's a Hunter.
It was
guy.
It was a 20% increase in viewership just based on the fact that casual fans came back out of the woodwork because they heard that Vince was not in charge anymore.
Right.
And it's like I think they're just going to ride with that because people know that Vince is not in charge anymore, and they know Hunter's in charge, and they know, hey, look, Hunter's bringing up his guys, and the casual fans that like listen to our podcast but don't even watch the show, I think they're tuning in and like watching, like, hey, so I don't think it's a negative, and I think you're looking more negatively towards it. I don't think it's negative. I think it's more positive.
It is. I'm not saying it's not more positive than having Vince McMahon there, but at the same time, Russo's also right. Because when you have all these eyes and everybody's saying, "Oh, I wonder what this is going to look like," I don't think it's so much about Hunter. I think it's a lot about people wanting to see.
Russo's right about what? What are you referring to? I don't know what the quote you're referring.
He's been critical of Hunter taking over in that.
Why?
The show because Vince still thinks it's long matches and stuff. And I agree with Vince on this. I don't think wrestling needs longer matches.
Neither do I.
With this new audience, it's not different enough for you to go, "Oh my god, like this is so different from Vince."
Well, that's what he's doing. He's taking the NXT long match concept and bringing it to the big screen when he doesn't really. What I think, that they just should be a lot shorter. You don't need really long matches. You're competing with other stuff, And so I would agree with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say also just real quick, Billy. Vince is. I spoke to Vince because I was on the I did a podcast with. I just think he's been too critical too soon. Like nothing's going to change immediately. They brought these guys. Go ahead.
There's why am I supposed to be into Dakota Kai? Am I supposed to know who this is? They're doing very AEW-ish things where you have to have a wrestling encyclopedia, or you have to go onto YouTube, or you have to do all these things to understand who you're watching. Like you're supposed to immediately have this opinion and go,
because they explain it in video packages, Billy.
Yeah, they do.
They explained in a video package.
Bro, let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a good example. Great example. My brother-in-law, who's from Australia and is a big Star Wars mark, just like you, and he actually, I don't know how I saw these pictures, but I saw some pictures of you with the Millennium Falcon and all that. And I guess your son's blonde now, right?
Yeah, I think. Are you on his Instagram, or you follow each other on Instagram?
No, you know how like on I don't have Instagram, but you know how you have that chat thing
on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp,
yeah, right, on WhatsApp. Yeah. So you're on there, and I just pressed to see what you posted, and it was like all Star Trek pictures. Star Wars.
Disney in the week, yeah.
Right. So,
Jeez, I can't believe that was 3 days ago. My week is just insane.
Right.
I don't know how you guys did this as wrestlers. Like, I feel my body feels like
bro, we were wrestling 30 days straight, different towns, and still working out and still partying.
Right.
Okay. But what was I saying, Billy? Now I lost my track.
You're talking about WhatsApp? You saw on WhatsApp with Jake.
You saw my story on WhatsApp, yeah.
Yeah, but why was I telling you that? What were we talking about?
Because he says a perfect example. Because you got your kids. Because we're talking about the new characters being introduced on the show, and WWE has good packages. And you said,
okay. So there you go. So my brother-in-law's here, and he's a big wrestling fan, right? And also a big Star Wars fan. And I had to watch Empire Strikes Back and some other films the other day with him. And so he's like, hey, man, let's watch NXT. Now, I hated NXT the last time I saw it, which was months ago. But I said, let's watch it because I wanted to see what my boy Phantasma, used to work in AAA, and I invested a lot of time in him. So I wanted to see that match where he lost, just to see how he lost. And so I hadn't seen it in months. And, bro, the very first video package of Heatwave brought you up to date on every single storyline. And then before every match, they had a video package of every match that let you know what was going on. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty like the Phantasma storyline was really well put together and really cool. And by the time the match started, I understood everything that was going on. So they do explain it to you, unlike AEW.
Good.
That's an example where they did, but I'm still waiting for the package where they show you who Dakota Kai is, and they also show you that Cross hasn't had a killer package yet. Cross hasn't had a package of everybody he beat in NXT or wherever. Like, he hasn't had that package. Like,
that is true.
They're lacking on the main.
That is true. They're assuming that you watched NXT, I guess.
Yeah,
that's true. But I'll give them bro. It's very early. He's only been on TV for 2 straight weeks, and they just called him back a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It's like, it was funny too because I was texting Kevin. It's like, we were
You're muted, dude.
Mute.
I shared it. I had a conversation. Like, if you talk to Hunter, he's like, nah, I'm not going to call him. And the next thing I know is like 2 days later, like Hunter called him right after I talked to him. It's just like,
when you speak to him, ask him about speaking to me. And
already did. You guys' stories are exactly the same.
So when I said, but I asked him if I said to him, look, I know you're going back this week. So
I told them the same thing when I talked to him. I said, Hunter's back. I know they're going to call you. Watch.
Well, he started calling, like, Cross was the first guy. Yeah. That immediately, like, he showed up, and like that was actually a good spot for Hunter, because Cross showed up, and then all of a sudden, like, the dominoes fell. I was like, oh boy, look at this now a bunch of other people are coming back, and that's why I think that was good storytelling.
Because he laughed because I said to him, I told my son to make. I said, I know I said stuff about you, but I told my son to come over. I said, because you guys are going back to WWE this week, and he's not going to be able to get your picture for $30 ever again. So